Good morning, grandkids. Okay, this morning I'm a little late with making this video, and I'm sorry about that, but I didn't get up in time, and yesterday I couldn't make it early because I had to go get my eyes zapped and see about a cataract that I'm getting in one of my eyes. But we decided that the other eye was perfectly fine, and this one is can wait. So I'm back here and I can see, and we shall get this done. You can watch it at any time. I'm tired of people uh, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late," when they pop into a video, because it's always sitting here. You can come and look at a video anytime that you want to, when it's most convenient for you. So come and listen to the story after work or after school. You don't have to be watching it right now. So this is chapter 48 of The Young Wizard Dorkly. The next day, Dorkly and Dupree hurried to the docks and took a ship to the mainland. Major Gable was traveling with General Dupree, but Dorkly was taking two young men who were in training to be wizards at the college, run by the fathers. Dorkly is carrying the missives to General Farthington to take to the king there on the mainland. Dorkly was happy that the fathers had given the young men permission to go along with him this early in their training, and he and they felt that it would be good for them. He would look after them and felt that they could be useful to him. He had packed up some supplies and his potion mixer and his scrying ball. The three of them were dressed in long gray robes, lightly tied at the waist, a pouch hanging from the tie, and a staff. The end of the staff held a dull, what looked like a stone ball. But looks can be deceiving, because Dorkly had enchanted each one with lightning bolts, just in case any help was needed. Back on Blue Haven, one or two of the guards kept noticing strange men dressed as guards who wouldn't talk with them, nor stayed in the barracks. It finally worried them enough, you think, that they took the problem to the king. The king figured that either William or Gertrude, her most likely, had brought them with them. He told his guards that anyone that they found like that to just simply arrest them and put them in prison, and that he'd deal with them later. General Farthington and his few men were met by his sister at the docks. As he steps off the ship and sees her smiling face with her short brown curls bobbing on her head, he smiles broadly and gathers her into his arms. He gave her a hearty kiss on her forehead. "Stella," he said, "it's been so long." He hugged her again, and then let go and leaned back and said, She said, "It has been a few years. You only have been back once." To see me. I'm sorry, guys, I'm getting stuck on my own writing. I can't even read it. "You've been back only once to see me. Is this just another quick visit, or is it business?" she asked, as they walked arm in arm toward her carriage. He said, "Well, there is business, but the visit will be longer than the last time." "Great," Stella said. "Well, the cook is preparing a meal, if you're hungry." I doubt whether the food on that ship was much good. She waited a bit and then said, I also have some news. It looks like you may be going to have a baby. So I hope the first news is that you're married, he said, with raised eyebrows. She laughed and said, yes, you're right about the baby, and you're right about the husband. His name is Nick Greasher. So I'm Mrs. Greasher now. I know it's a little late at my age, but I'm happy. Nick's really looking forward to meeting you, and he hopes that he can be of help to you. He's in the military and will do anything that you need. They all climbed into a carriage and headed home. Farthington, meaning Farthington and Stella, and his guards that he brought with him. Farthington noticed the bustle. So many people, carriages, and horses. The streets were crowded. He noticed how large the buildings were. The architecture so different than back in Blue Haven. Things had really changed since he had lived here years ago. He hoped his friend Conley would get to come and visit his father. Surely something could be arranged to let the two kings have some time together, he thought. When they arrived at the house, Nick had been watching for them and hurried out the door. Farthington was helping Stella out of the carriage as the guards and warriors were climbing out of their carriage. The military man stood there at attention as Farthington and Nick smilingly shook hands. Stella said, Nick, this is my brother, Major Farthington, only now with us he is fairy. She turned to her brother and said, and this is my husband, Nick. You two should get along great. Come along into the house and head for the dining hall. I'm famished. She turned to Nick and asked, Dear, would you take the bunkhouse guards and... I'm sorry, kids. I really am sorry. This is uncalled for, and I should have been better prepared. Dear, would you take the guards to the bunkhouse and give orders for them to be fed, but hurry back? She then led Farthington and the carriage driver, holding his luggage, to the rooms that she had set aside for her brother. They walked in, and Fenry looked around admiringly. You have a lovely home, Stella. Thank you for giving me such great rooms. He was poking his head through every door. The blue and silver-toned bathroom reminded him of home with those colors. The bedroom in dark brown woods and wine-colored tapestries and wine-colored bed covers looked very masculine. He went back out to the living room and noticed how comfortable it all looked. He looked at Stella and said, everything looks perfect. I'm afraid once I sit down on that comfortable-looking gray couch with those mounds of printed wine cushions, I'm not going to want to get up, he said with a big sigh. And a fireplace. What more could I ask for? He said laughingly. Then, looking at Stella, he said, well, food. I guess that's next on the agenda. Nick was waiting for them in the dining room and said, well, Fenris, your men are being well taken care of. One of the main reasons that I built a small barracks by my home for my own men and for personal guards of visitors. didn't want them to go way off to the large barracks near the palace. The three of them sat down as the servants started pouring drinks and setting food on the table. There was a choice of mead or wine, and the food, Fenry felt like the food was unending. As they were eating, Nick said, "As we are waiting arrangements for your visit to the king, would you like to go on a hunt tomorrow? Maybe after Dorkly and Major Dupree arrive?" "Well, I'll tell you," Fenry said. "I will love to be going on a hunt, but let me tell you about those characters that's with me," he said with a chuckle. "Major Dupree is the king's son and hasn't been in the military for very long and hasn't really done much yet. One of the reasons that the king is sending him here is so he can get involved and so I can sort of look after him." He laughed. He's mostly spent his time reading books and trying to deny that he's an heir to the throne. "Well," Nick said, "may I help in getting him some real military training?" "Be my guest," said General Hartington. "Be my guest." "And what about the young wizard Dorkly and his 2 accolades?" "Well, he's here to find out all that he can in his wizardly ways. That will be helpful to us, and those 2 young wizards he picked up to train and to be of help to him." "Oh," said Nick. Then I'll introduce them to the 3 wizards that the king here has." "No," said Fenry quickly. "Let him find out things on his own. He's very good, and he won't assume everyone is okay until he finds out for himself. There's some bad stuff going on somewhere, and that's why we are all here," he said seriously. "But," he said with a smile, "they will arrive tomorrow while we are out enjoying ourselves. They'll be just fine. Your wife can see about getting them settled in. I'm ready to handle whatever rifle you'll let me use and get out there and see what the game here is like." Fenry laughed. "After a good night's sleep, that is." So next Friday we'll see what they're all going to be there and what happens after Dupree and Fenry and his young accolades arrive. What they do, where they go, what's going to be happening, and what they're all going to find out about what's going on there. So I'll see you next Friday. I shall try to read through my notes once I have written them so that I know what I'm reading. After I write these chapters, I lay them aside and then go on with other things in my life. And when I pick up one of them to read here on Friday, if I don't read them 2 or 3 times ahead of time, I'm like this. So I'm sorry. Next Friday, I shall try to be better prepared. Thank you all for coming, and I'll see you maybe tomorrow Saturday. Maybe I'll have a vlog or something, I don't know. Otherwise, I'll see you Monday. Thank you, grandkids. Bye-bye.